Hi, and welcome to the ARC Racing Series live from Brooklyn, Michigan at the Michigan International Speedway. Tonight we are running the street stocks for 125 laps of the last qualifying race of the qualifying series. They did a 10-race qualifying series to determine the top split drivers for that'll be the top split in the next season that'll be coming up shortly. Tonight we are just going to have a great time in the street stocks. The points are pretty close. I think Spencer pretty much has got the championship sewed up if he has a really good race. He's only 31 points ahead of Taylor Hurst, but I think if he can have a good race tonight, all he's got to do is just stay out of trouble and finish probably in the top 10, and he'll get it. I'm here tonight with Michael Snow. Michael, you've got the lower side of the split. What's going on down there?
Well, right now it looks as if Paul Coleman in the 27th position in the championship standings is pretty much safe as long as he has a decent night tonight. Otherwise than that, Carson Adubi and Calvin and Elliott Smith all are on the bubble. We have Kyle Gilbert in the second split. I think he's the first driver that has showed up for the second split that is below the top 30. If he can have sort of a decent night and or win is probably the best situation he could have. He could overtake Elliott Smith, Tim Bills, and Ray Thompson and Dennis Haney in the standings and maybe move up to the top 30 depending on how he does tonight in the second split.
Oh, that's going to be a fun race to watch to see how some of the drivers do. We'll have to keep an ears out to see how the split two drivers do to see if we're going to get into something new tonight. We've been running a lot of the short tracks. We've been running Martinsville, Lanier, USA, South Boston. Now we're into one of the big 2-mile tracks where drafting comes into play. So now you're going to see drivers actually follow each other, and they get real tight behind each other, and the car in front will actually break the air and gives the car behind it a little more speed.
Drivers, 2 minutes.
So it'll be interesting to see. They also get
minutes.
into the bump draft, but the bump draft is going to be a little bit different with these cars. The bumpers don't line up. We see that we are done with qualifying, and we have Michael Cozy Jr. who's on the pole, and outside of him is going to be Stephen Wetton, who's hasn't been racing too much with us that late, but it's glad to see him back. Last week's winner, O.J. Dompierre, will be starting third. Outside of him is our points leader, Spencer Preet. Behind him, Brandon Cruz Monsivais. He's been running fairly decent as of late. It's good to see him up in the front. Then we have the troublemaker, as we like to affectionately call him, Travis Brown in the 33. Then Paul Coleman Jr. in the 10. The 53 of Douglas Thompson. He's one of our lower running guys, but I think he's safe and he'll still be in. And the 19 of Alan Anderson. Then the 50 of Andy Lee. And the 99, last week's pick by Mark Arthur, of Daniel Vining. Then the 31 of Aaron Masters. And then the 4 of Brock Colson in that Napa car. Karsten Albee will be in the next one in line, and then the 104 of Calvin Filarski. Then we get into the drivers that did not take time, which were some of these guys are the usual suspects, like Robert O'Neill. The 64 Robert O'Neill never qualifies, always starts in the back and works his way to the front, and he's a joy to watch as he works his way through the pack. And then the 71 of Chuck Smith tonight. And then the next in line is the 45 of Chris Shaw. Shotgun on the field tonight is the 81 of Martin Davio. Michael, what do you think? How are you all set up? You've raced here before. What do you think of racing here in the street stocks?
It's great as long as you can stay packed together. Once you're separated, it becomes a pain to make any positions. You have to wait for somebody to make a mistake for a caution flag to fly, or you literally have to race on strategy. That's the best way to make positions here. Say, take 2 tires on one stop and just take the disadvantage, per se. If it's a green flag, you're really not going to get hurt that much. Now, if it's a yellow flag and you're all bunched together, they're going to fly by you like you're standing still. It's the best way to make up positions here is on pit road. If we don't have a lot of caution flags. If we have a lot of caution flags, it's going to be a lot of exciting racing. It's going to be pushing. It's going to be shoving. You could see a few massive wrecks today, like everyone's always talking about the Daytona or the Talladega Big One. That could happen tonight, and that could really, really upset the standings for our season finale tonight.
And now we're racing at a 2-mile track with the street stocks. Basically, it's just like you said, running at Daytona. These cars will run flat out if the setup is right. It's a momentum track, though, whereby you want to try to keep the car rolling as fast as you can. There, if you dut the car a little bit too tight, maybe a little bit too loose, a lot of times that'll cause them guys to lose momentum through the corners. So it should be a really fun race tonight. We're getting them lined up here down the backstretch. I heard the officials hollering for them to get lined up, get them tightened up in there. And I think we're going to get ready to go green as we come around the turn 3. Michael, you have any favorites for tonight?
I don't know. I think I'm gonna go with OJ Dompier from last week. I mean, he had an overwhelming performance last week. He came from the mid pack many times, overcame a lot of difficulties on pit road. Which is one thing you have to be able to do here. You have to be able to overcome pit road, which is really hard to do. Like I said, you make and lose positions on pit road, and it's so hard to make up positions on the track. And other than that, is OJ Dompier definitely.
I think that's a great pick as we take the green flag. Michael Cozy is shot out of a barrel. He times that just right. Pulls out Stephen Wetton, pulls right in tight behind him to get to that draft. And Spencer Preet in third actually pulls right down and tries to get in behind those. We got OJ Dompier back there in 4th place. And it looks like Travis Brown on the outside of him. I could be wrong on that one, and I do apologize, but couldn't see the car real well where I'm sitting here. So, it's got a great race. They're actually starting to get single file here. Now we're getting into the draft part of it. That's the important thing. But now Stephen Wetton's actually already pulled down below Michael Cozy Jr., trying to get the lead away from him on the first lap.
We're all really single file here. A few guys I see are jumping down below the white line here. That's something I didn't see last time when I raced here. Hey Rod, do you have any insight on that? What could be gained from that?
Yeah, actually the guys will do that. We're racing a D-shaped oval track, so the front stretch is actually not straight. Where these cars are underpowered as much as they are, they don't really carry enough speed to be able to really kind of go to the top of the track. So they'll actually straighten the track out by just going right straight down through and right down through the bottom. Unlike some of the super speedways, there's no penalty for that, so they can do it without having any penalties. Michael Cozy is back out in front after Stephen Wetton had taken it away from him. Travis Brown is actually coming underneath Stephen Wetton. Spencer Preet pushing him. Remember, the draft comes in a lot here, so these guys will be tucked right in tight. The more cars you got in line, the faster you'll go. Stephen Wetton is stuck on the outside. OJ Dompier is not close enough to him really to help him at all, so he's not even going to get the advantage. I think you'll see the 3 cars on the bottom actually pull away, but they also need that little bit of that room unless their car isn't really good to come off the corner. So if Steve Wetton can stay on the outside of Michael Cozy, he may kind of shorten up the corner for him and slow him down a little bit. They're still 2 by 2 pretty much all the way through the front. These guys up front are really racing hard. They want to be leading all of the laps. My pick for tonight, if I had to, I think I would probably go with Michael Cozy Jr., a pole sitter. He's missed a few races. He's in the points. He's nothing to worry about. I think he's the guy tonight that goes on and takes on the victory.
Yeah, I'm sitting here watching OJ Dompier right now, and he's actually on the outside lane and is holding with really no drafting help at all, and is staying dead even with the 10 car of Paul Coleman Jr. And it's amazing that he's only got two now cars in the draft to help him, and really it's not that clean of air because they're moving around, and he's still holding it outside. I think this new tire helping us out, dropping that rubber down on the outside is really helping OJ Dompier right now. I think he's got the car set up rather well for the outside.
Of course you're going to pick on OJ Dompier. He's your pick for tonight, but they're still 2 by 2. Stephen Wetton was able to take over the lead on the exit of turn 2 down there. He's got back out front. He's got Travis Brown right tight behind him. You got Michael Cozy in 3rd place on the outside with Spencer Preet behind him. And then newcomer up to the front, Paul Coleman Jr. What's nice about this track is that anybody, I mean, even Paul Coleman Jr. could win the race tonight. He's not usually known for being one of the front runners, but this track here really lends to where the drivers
of our bigger challenges tonight with these drivers. It's luck of the draw as far as pit road goes. I mean, it's somewhat about the crew that you have, but here and where you come out is luck of the draw. I mean, it's nothing else to go by it there.
And we see that back there in the pit spot, Paul Coleman Jr. and Travis Brown, they keep switching it back and forth. I don't know, I think they just want to get in line and try to stay with that lead group. The top four are actually Michael Cozy, Spencer Preet, Stephen Wetton, and Alan Anderson are just kind of pulled away a little bit. These two guys behind them running side by side have slowed themselves down. Also, the cars behind them are actually coming up to them. They'd be better off, I think, to get into a single file run and get to it. Travis Brown gets loose on the exit of turn 2, which loses the momentum. Paul Coleman Jr. is going to probably roll right around him on the outside as Brandon Cruz Masaveas pulls down below Travis Brown because of the momentum lost and maybe try to get past him as he exits turn 2. Michael Cozy goes a little high. I think Michael Cozy is going to be getting himself set up for the pit stop. He's going to let Spencer Preet go by and lead a lap. I believe that he's just trying to get behind the guys so that he's not right in front of them when the pit stops come out.
And we do have takers this time on pit road. We have Calvin Filarski, Robert O'Neill, OJ Dampierre, Brandon Cruz, and I think that's all that took pit road this time by.
Now on the backstretch, Michael Cozy Jr. still out front of Spencer Preet and Stephen Wetton.
Yep.
Alan Anderson still holding on really good right there. Paul Coleman Jr. is still just a little behind him. And then Travis Brown and Andy Lee are your lead pack drivers. They are really getting going. I just heard mention they think some of the cars will be pitting this time. As Michael Cozy Jr., Spencer Preet, Stephen Wetton, all of them come down pit road. All right, I'm going to keep my eyes on these guys. I want to see if they take 4 tires, 2 tires, what their strategy is going to be.
It looks as if all the people that are on pit road the lap before them are all taking fuel and 4 tires as far as I've seen so far.
Now we get to see who actually makes up the ground coming off pit road. You have some of the cars that previously pitted already just leaving the pit, and they're getting off and back onto their track. And we'll see if Brandon Cruz Masaveas had a good enough pit stop, and OJ Dampierre, so that when Michael Cozy, Spencer Preet, and Stephen Wetton all come back out on the track, where they'll be. They'll be out there 1 lap more on fresher tires. That may be the difference as well, as getting them out front of these 3 other cars.
As it looks right now, I think my prediction earlier is going to come to true. That you get these single cars out after the first pit stop, get these single cars out all by themselves, and it's really hard to make up positions.
The first one off pit road of the lead cars is Spencer Preet, followed by Michael Cozy and Travis Brown. Them 3 drivers had really great pit stops. The rest of the drivers that were there with them, Andy Lee, and a few of the other drivers, they didn't get out as quick as they did. It looks like Spencer Preet has got a really good lead on him right now, but he's out there by himself. You'll see Travis Brown tuck right in behind Michael Cozy, and they'll see if they can catch up to him and draft right up to the back of him. As we said before, though, pit stops really do make the difference, especially under green flags. Spencer Preet really got a great pit stop, got in, got out, got 4 tires and fuel. Probably a few adjustments to get the car to handle a little better, although there's nothing better to make the car handle than clean air. He's gotten himself out front. He's actually got a fairly decent lead over Michael Cozy Jr. and Travis Brown. He's about 1.2 seconds ahead of them, but I think you'll see that number just diminish and diminish as they go because they are driving together. Travis Brown has got the nose tucked right up tight underneath Michael Cozy Jr., and he'll them 2 of the guys will bring themselves right up to the back bumper of Spencer Preet. The interesting thing to see is whether they'll just tuck in behind him or roll past him when they catch him.
And it looks like they're going to go right on around him.
Aaron Masters had a great pit stop as he came out 4th, as he's just being overtaken by OJ Dampierre and Brandon Cruz. I missed the guy there. I apologize. Robert O'Neill, sorry, is the guy that's right behind OJ Dompierre. I do believe these guys are teammates, so you'll see them tuck right up tight and try to catch up to the guys in front of them. It'll be interesting to see. They just drove right past them and left Spencer Preet out hanging. That's okay. Spencer will tuck right in behind Travis Brown. Oh, as Michael Cozy pulls up to give the drafting help to Spencer Preet so that he can get past Travis Brown. Travis Brown pulls right in behind him, and they just line up and get ready to go. The smart thing for them to do right now would be to just tuck up close and try to see if they can pull away from the fourth place car of OJ
back up immediately coming out of the pits. And this is good to see. This is good racing. This is exciting racing for the viewers. And it's intriguing on what changed. I don't know if it was the tire that changed, if we found a better way to put fuel in the car. I'm not exactly sure. This is intriguing to find that we're coming out of the pits forming packs almost, and right out of the pits. It's intriguing. It's a really good thing to see.
And you might have had Spencer Preet being out front by himself, knows that he's going to get overrun eventually, and then also knows that if he can get himself tucked into a good 3-car draft, that they're going to go quicker. You might have seen him probably lift off the throttle a little bit to let Michael Cozy Jr.
For the viewers, I mean, I'm enjoying watching it, and I'm up here in the booth. I can't imagine to see all the different views and cameras that they get to see.
I think you can see OJ Dompierre and Robert O'Neill. They are just right tight together. That's the difference between the drivers that are running up front. There's a little bit more of a gap in between them. These guys are running even tighter together. OJ Dompierre is actually giving a little bump here and there, trying to push OJ Dompierre just to get him a little bit more speed down the straightaway. Stephen Wetton has actually pulled right up tight behind him now, so if Andy Lee can get in there and they can keep that tight draft going, I believe that they will make up the time and actually catch up to the 3 leaders. It's awful funny, but the 3 cars are pretty fast. 4 cars are even faster. The more cars you got, the more air that gets broke through.
Michael Cozy Jr. is our pole sitter. He's running up front. Does not mean he will win. We could have somebody like Paul Coleman Jr. like we were talking about earlier. He could come up, get a really good pit stop, maybe do some strategy that we were talking about, take 2 tires and a little bit less fuel. Coming to the end, we get a late caution. And
yeah, we've had a few cars actually have problems and pull the cars behind the wall. I understand that Brock Colson and Chris Shaw, Chris Shaw never actually took a lap. Brock Colson has pulled it behind the wall. Not really sure. We don't have a pit road reporter down there yet. We're going to be hopefully throwing Michael down there a little later on in the broadcast. But right now, we just know that Brock Colson has parked the car out behind the wall, and it'll be interesting to find out possibly what happened to the car.
Yeah, I'll be sure that whenever I do go down there later on in the race, I'll try to track him or his crew chief down to see what happened with this car. But like I was saying before, I had some technical issues.
I think my man Michael's still having the technical issues there, but Michael Cozy Jr. still out front, followed closely by Spencer Preet and Travis Brown. They have just walked away from the field. They're actually now gotten themselves tightened right up, and actually gaining time on OJ Dompierre, who's back there in 4th position with Robert O'Neill right tight behind him. Stephen Wetton is still right there. He is running in 6th place. Andy Lee is behind him. Then you go a little bit further back, almost 4 seconds more back, 8 seconds behind the leader. You got Brandon Cruz Masaveas, who's running with Aaron Masters and Martin Davio. And the rest of the guys that just didn't have the real fast pit stops are further back in the field there. You got to get tight, right up nice and tight to be able to get in there and see if you can catch up to the leaders. It's one of those big drafting tracks where it's going to be really hard to try to catch them.
Yeah, I'm watching these 3 leaders up here, and it's intriguing me that one car is sort of having a bubble. Like you get so close to the car in front of you, and you can't get any closer. And it's intriguing to me on how some of these cars have that bubble where they can't get any closer. And then there's a car that's right behind him that can come all the way up to your bumper and push you almost.
lot of that is really on how they get through the air. Or the corners, really. It's a momentum track, even though you need to be able to get through the corners and actually keep that momentum. So if you've got a driver that is getting through the corner much better, he's actually going to carry that momentum. If some one of those drivers just can't get through the corner, like the guy that does, they're going to lose a little bit of momentum. So that's what you're seeing is the cars that are not quite handling as good as the others are losing that momentum coming off the corner. Michael Cozy Jr. still out front, followed by Spencer Preet, who tucks the nose out to get a little air in there, probably getting a little warm, and he's still followed closely in third place by Travis Brown in the 33 machine. These guys are just walking away now. They've actually gained some more time. They're about 4.5 seconds away.
For me to get to somebody. Anybody want to move me down?
I apologize that for a minute here. I had some things I had to take care of real quick. And so Michael Cozy Jr., Spencer Preet, and Travis Brown are still out front. And they're just walking away with it. We do have a new arrival into the broadcast booth. Jacob Selman is going to be our lead man now. I'm going to step aside and let him run the show for us tonight. And he's just going to be the second in the technical guy. We're going to send Michael Snow back down on pit road so he can do his pit road reporting. Jacob, welcome to ARC Racing Series.
Definitely glad to be here, Rod. Always fun to keep an eye on everything going on with the sim. Definitely excited to call some action at Michigan. Fun racetrack. Love the 2-mile high banks and love how wide it is. It's been a tight 3-car battle for the lead here in the early going, and I'm watching a battle trouble on the back straightaway working lap 31. Andy Lee this is all about 5 seconds back of the leaders, 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th. Lee going to lose a couple of spots, was battling with Robert O'Neill, O.J. Dompier. This whole battle back from 4th through 7th got a little hairy on the back straightaway, and they all get together, keep it going. Looks like nobody really going to be the worse for the wear as far as positioning goes, but Cozy, again, those front three, like you mentioned, Rod, pulling away from this field, using the draft to their advantage, and they've built up a 5-second advantage. We're barely a quarter of the way into this race, working lap 32.
Yeah, Robert O'Neill, actually one of the drivers that did not take time, starting in the back of the field. He has worked his way up there into the 6th spot. He's used to doing that. We usually see him doing it coming up through here, but that's actually doing very well, seeing how that we have not yet had a caution tonight. We've had one green flag pit stop, and the race is just basically just running its paces. Michael Cozy out there out front, showing the way.
And it's been a solid run for Cozy so far in that 88. Have watched him have a lot of success, watched him win a super race at Iowa Speedway about a month or so back, one of the charity events that iRacing put on. He's good at just about anything he sets a wheel on the racetrack to in this sim, and right now he's holding off Spencer Preet in a great battle for the lead. I mean, these three have been locked together, and Preet taking a look to the inside now as they work off turn number 2. Battle for the lead, can't quite get up to the quarter panel and has to fall back into line for an instant. He'll hang on to that 2nd spot and not give a look for Travis Brown, but he's almost shoving Cozy down into turns 1 and 3, almost hoping if maybe he can get him loose and try to work that inside and get on by. He keeps peeking a groove lower and just can't quite get the run.
I'm back here watching the guys in the 5th position, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th. Andy Lee did get it straightened out, didn't lose that much momentum spots. He's actually worked his way back right to the rear bumper of Robert O'Neill, and Robert O'Neill's right behind O.J. Dompier and Stephen Wetton. These guys still, they got to get themselves a little bit tighter if they plan on catching them 3 cars that are just rolling away with the field.
Yeah, and they continue to roll away from the field. They've had the speed a while, and I'm curious, Rod, if Pit Road has anything on any of these top 3, because they're just making it look like a good old Thursday night drive right now.
They actually had a really great pit stop that's where they got the 3 cars got out there and split away from everybody. Spencer Preet had the greatest pit stop. He got out there, he got about a second ahead of Michael Cozy Jr. and Travis Brown. But Travis Brown and Michael Cozy were able to get the cars tightened right up and actually run him down and get out front. OJ Dompierre and the group there behind him didn't have as good of pit stops. They were all running, about 10 cars were running right in together at the beginning of the race. They didn't have as good of pit stops, and that's what you see going on here now. That's there in the second group.
So we continue to watch that battle for the lead. How about side by side through the corner? Spencer Preet finally got the look, and he is up alongside as they work down the back straightaway, getting a little bit of shove from Travis Brown. Cannot make it work. Cosi holds his ground somehow, but these two were beating and banging all over the place. Coming off turn 2 down the back straightaway. Here comes Preet looking again through turns 3 and 4. He's got the run and just again can't quite get the momentum to get up and clear him. Had his best look of the night so far, working off turn 2 last time by. They come all the way down below that white line, and it's back to just under a car length, less than a tenth of a second, back to 1.
We got our second first-time takers on pit road. OJ Dompierre and Robert O'Neill, teammates, have just pulled down on pit road of the lead pack. I can see some of the other cars that were there prior, a little bit further back, have already pitted. This is some strategy to maybe get out there on fresh tires and hopefully be able to catch up to the 3 cars that are just rolling away from the field.
Well, they need to do something, and the problem is when all you're having is green flag pit stops right now, Rod, you can't really use some sort of a strategy like a 2-tire call to make up that 5-second gap. These guys all really need a caution that I'm just not convinced we're going to see right now as we see Cosi lead that lead train off of turn number 4 and down pit side for their service here, 36 laps in.
Yeah, this is one of those tracks where, 4 tires is, you can get 4 tires and fuel. The 4 tires can get on there just as long as it would take actually shorter than it would take to get the fuel in the car. So they're going to take all 4. You're right. There is no real way other than take short pitting on fuel. But then you're gonna have troubles on the other side of that because they can only run. Talking to Michael Cosi, somewhere around 18 laps on fuel. So if you shorten yourself up on fuel, you actually could put yourself in a worse position.
It's all about give and take on the strategy here, Rod, and that's going to be what we're going to be talking about for the rest of this race. I mean, you talk about 125 laps, there's a lot of pit stops that are going to go into this and a lot of chances for strategy, but the hard part is, you're absolutely right, it's give and take. You gain some on the leading end of the pit cycle, but you lose some there on that back end of the pit cycle. So it's going to really depend on how this shakes out and where that final pit stop lies as to whether short pitting might not get you somewhere. Slow pit stop for Cosi. He's going to lose 2 spots as Preet and Brown, both in the 27 and 33 cars respectively, get around him. That's going to drop Cosi back to that 3rd position, allow that 27 of Spencer Preet some time out front.
Yeah, we got Michael Snow. He's finally made his way down to pit road down there. You've got some information on Spencer Preet?
Yeah, Rod, thanks. So I talked to his crew chief. He said that Spencer has been complaining about the car getting really, really free and falling off dramatically after about 12 to 13 laps, even with this new tire and the way he's putting rubber down on the track. I also talked to him about a little bit of strategy. He said it's definitely 4 tires and fuel all the way. It does not matter what happens in the race, a late yellow, green, white, checkered. Does not matter. It's 4 tires, full of fuel. And that's the only way to go.
And that makes sense too, because if your car is actually a little bit free, you get yourself tucked in behind the car in front of you, it actually will tighten the car up a little bit. So that's probably why I was pretty content with staying right behind Michael Cosi.
You watch this battle start to cycle back out now, Rod, and actually this pit cycle really good for a couple of the guys that were in that second group because it's now made it a 5-car battle for the lead. Spencer Preet, Aaron Masters, Martin DeViao, Travis Brown, Michael Cosi, all within 0.7 of a second of one another. And that train that was 3, like we said, it is now 5 drafting across the start-finish line. 38 laps in the books. We're officially 1/4 of the way through this event here tonight at the Michigan International Speedway. And your leader before pit stops all the way back to 5th now. And I'm curious, I want to throw it back down pit side. Michael, any word on what the problem was on the pit stop for the 88?
I think we're having some technical difficulties with him down there. I'm amazed to see that they made it out there. I wonder if the 81 and the 31 actually took 2 tires and short pitted their fuel to get themselves out there, hoping to catch a caution and maybe catch back up to the field.
I'm interested by that, and you know, it's amazing that they're holding, if they took 2 tires, it's amazing that they're holding serve with the leaders right now. You would expect that those older left side tires to have completely gone away at this point and made it almost impossible for them to stay up there. If they took 2 tires, both Martin and Aaron doing a masterful job right now holding those top 2 spots, and it's going to be interesting to see how this shakes out. I think over the next couple of laps, you'll start to see what the strategies are and how they played out. But even short pitting for 4 tires, Rod, would have, you talk about making up a second and a half a lap on fresh tires. Short pitting 2 or 3 laps, and you're right there with the leaders. So it'll be interesting to see if they've got the tires, they can stay with them for a little bit. But now here comes Spencer Preet, that 27, down to the inside, battle for the lead here at lap number 40.
Yeah, it's. I think maybe what they might have done too. They might have done the 4 tires and actually just didn't take the top it off all the way with fuel. It's the only way you're going to gain any position on the pit stops is just to take less fuel. That's the only way you can really make up any time. Or 2 tires, you're still going to take less fuel. So it'd be interesting to find out what they actually did to get themselves caught up with those 3 leaders.
Yeah, now you see Preetz worked his way on by, and now the 33 Travis Brown trying to bring Michael Kosey with him. So Spencer Preet back to the top of the leaderboard as this top 5 shuffle continues to roll here, closing in on 1/3 of the way through. That's tight through turn number 4, and you see the top 5, they get back in lockstep now, and we're going to see whether it was 2 tires or 4, because if these 3 front runners now in Preet, Brown, and Kosey start to pull away, you're going to know what the tire situation was. But that 81 and the 31, they're not giving up this fight and hanging on to the back end of that lead draft. So it's a 5-car freight train out in front. OJ Dampier is back in position now with Robert O'Neill 7th. And those guys 7.5 seconds behind the race leaders. So without a caution, you have to think, Rod, maybe these 5 guys, if everybody can hang together for the duration of this fuel run, you got to imagine all of a sudden it's these 5 guys fighting for a win instead of the 3-car freight train we were talking about 6 laps ago before pit stops.
Well, absolutely. I think the guys that you're looking at right now, should we not have any cautions, it's very hard for OJ Dampier, Robert O'Neill, any of the other drivers that are behind them to catch them. Something's got to happen, like a caution for that to go, bring him back up to the field. I'm amazed that OJ Dampier and Robert O'Neill actually pitted a lap earlier than our leaders did, and they actually lost time. So I call it delta time, but the time it takes for them to get on pit road and off pit road. I know Michael Kosey and Spencer Preet are really good at making that all happen real fast, and I just don't think they're getting off the pit road as fast as them guys are.
If you're Kosey now, and we see him taking a look, trying to work back around Travis Brown for that 2nd spot, but if you're Kosey and you dominated the early stages of this race from the pole, I mean, how soon do you try to make your move back to the front, or are you just content maybe to ride behind in this draft for a little while? You're using a little less fuel if that's the case, and maybe not start thinking about a little bit of strategy here.
Michael Kosey starts thinking about strategy when he turns on the ignition. He's always got a strategy in his mind. He's always saving fuel no matter what he's doing. I wouldn't be surprised, but that's what his plan is right now, is to try to see if he can't save as much fuel as he can. He'll still pit with these guys, but when he does, he may have a little bit less fuel than they do, and that equates to a shorter pit stop time. Michael Kosey's is not one of those guys that he loves to be the one that's out front, out leading, but I think you're right. That's what he's doing right now, is just trying to conserve. We still have a long way to go. He'll be a force to reckon with by the time the end of this race comes in.
And I think we talk about it a lot, that he's always a force to reckon with. And now you start to see the 81 and 31, those guys that were staying right with this lead battle for a little bit in Aaron Masters back there on the tail end of that train in 5th. They're starting to fall back a little bit. Masters now almost a full second behind. You see that gap open up to 3rd place Michael Kosey. It's about a full second now between your 3-car lead train and those 2 cars in 4th and 5th. So I think we're starting to see where maybe the fresher tires from these 3 guys who pitted a little bit later starting to pay dividends. And we were talking about it a few minutes ago, Rod, that give and take that you have. If you're going to play that short pit strategy, you're going to give it up somewhere, and this is where those 2 guys are starting to give it up.
Oh, absolutely. That shows that they probably did take 2 tires. They just can't hang with them 3 cars out front in the corners. It's definitely a gamble. The hard thing gambling at a track like this is it doesn't lead itself to a lot of cautions, so that makes it really hard to try to play the gamble game with cautions and try to see if you can do it. But I'm surprised they got out there. They actually ran out front there for a little bit. They're losing out right now. I guarantee you the crew chief's down there, scratching his head and saying, "Oh, we're not doing 2 tires again."
I have to imagine you're right. Let's take a look down the top 10 as they run right now. Again, no cautions so far as we close in on the 50-lap mark. Spencer Preet took the lead following pit stops and is pacing the way over Travis Brown in the 33 in 2nd. Michael Kosey in the 88 rides 3rd, and Aaron Masters in the 31 just took 4th away from the 81 of Martin DeVow in 5th. O.J. Dampier is 6th, and Robert O'Neill is 7th in the 64. Brandon Monsavals is in the 8th position. Andy Lee 9th, and Stephen Wetton rounding out the top 10. And I like the move from both DeVow and O'Neill, Rod, because they've charged from not even taking time, taking a provisional, starting 16th and 19th respectively, to move up for O'Neill into the 7th spot, and DeVow now up to 5th. So those guys have really made nice charges through the field here, and we're not even halfway home yet.
Oh yeah, it's interesting. Every week we have a lot of on the short tracks. Robert O'Neill always starts in the back, and it's just fun to watch him come all the way through the field. And he's one of those what we call patient, aggressive drivers. He's a really aggressive driver, but he's got that patience. He's not knocking people out of the way to do it. He's setting them up. He's getting them at the right spot. He's working his way up through, and he's doing the same thing tonight. It's good to see that he's able to do it here at the Super Speedway. Be interesting to see, though, whether these guys can get themselves in a situation. Maybe the crew chief's got to start scratching his head a little bit, figure out what they need to do to get themselves up to where them top three drivers are.
Well, I have to say the crew chiefs must have been scratching their heads, because Aaron Masters in the 31 is on pit road. So we're starting to see Masters and DeVow. Their strategy must have been the short pit, because all of a sudden they're back in pit road. I've got to figure 6 or 7 laps before we'll see those front 3 back down on pit road based on the last time they pitted.
Now we know how they got there. They short pitted on fuel and hoping for a caution, but that didn't fall. So now they're going to be a little bit off. But there again, I'm not the strategist for this game. That could be a strategy game that puts them all race now on a different strategy, but yet it may put them in a situation where they will be right where they were about the time that happened. Should the race go green all the way, they put themselves in a situation so when the last pit stop falls, they're right there with the leaders. Who knows? Maybe that's the strategy to win tonight.
You know what? And in a race like this, that's what makes it so much fun. There's so many different strategies that we're going to be talking about all race long. I mean, you stop and figure, we're only 50 laps into this race, and so that's still 75 laps to go. A lot of time for things to change, a lot of chance for a caution yet. I mean, you've got several little packs of drivers all racing fairly close together, and they get up and just about knock the outside concrete down, as the 27 of Spencer Preet did right there coming off turn 2 down the back straightaway. But, still a lot of laps left for things to go right or things to go wrong. And as tight as these 3 leaders have been, and you see Michael Kosey in that 88 take a peek to the outside, look to see if he can't get a little bit of momentum down to the apron. They cross the stripe for lap 50. You have to wonder if this pot isn't eventually going to boil over. These guys are racing so tightly together. One wrong move and you're sending a guy into the outside wall.
I think you'll see these guys, they've got a lot of respect for each other. They do rough themselves up a little bit on the short tracks, but these guys are friends. They kind of run together a lot like this. I think you'll see that they'll just be patient. Get down to 10 laps to go. We'll see things pick up and be a little bit different. Michael, I understand that you have some information about how the drivers feel about these tires tonight and how much rubber they're setting on the track.
Yeah, Rod. I took a walk down pit road and spoke to the different crew chiefs and stuff. One common thing they all said that the drivers are complaining about: they're fighting the car loose all the way around the track. It's slipping, it's sliding, the car is doing whatever it wants, regardless of what they wanted to do. And they're fighting it extremely loose, even with the rubber down on the track. They are saying it's improving with this new tire, putting down the rubber on the track. They are saying it's improving, but it's not improving to a degree that they would like to see, and we might have a little bit of an issue. All right, back to you up in the booth, Rod.
Travis Brown had that thing just hanging out sideways just to prove a point that it was they are fighting a loose car. It'd be interesting to see when the rubber gets built in whether or not that actually makes the cars improve on the handling.
That was dicey, and Travis Brown is still loose in turns 3 and 4. Hang on to it, kicking the back end out. Michael Cosi to the inside, and I'm sure he's pretty thankful to be clear of that 33 car, Rod. I didn't know which way Travis Brown was going by the time they got to turn number 3. That car was all over the place, and I don't know how he didn't smack the safer barrier in 3 and 4, because I was sure we were headed for a caution flag just then.
Yeah, these are 3 of the top guys that are in the division here. There's some more of them here that aren't here tonight that are actually pretty good wheelmen. They all know how. They all like to have the car a little bit loose, and I think Travis is just probably pushing the right rear tire beyond its limits a little bit. But it shows you the talent that he has, that he's able to keep the car going straight, well, as straight as he's going, and keep the car going forward, and still having the car hanging that right rear out.
I mean, he really is, and he hangs on to a spot in the top 3, but you have to wonder how much some of that slide, Rod, may have hurt those rear tires a little bit and may cost him some speed over the rest of this run, though I'd imagine before too much longer. We're coming up on about 18 laps since they've been on pit road, so you got to imagine maybe next time by they'll be down on pit road for another round of service.
Yeah, so a little run around service, maybe a few air pressure changes, but that's all they can do with the street stock, so let's do a little something to make that thing a little tighter at the end of the run. But I'd probably come off the corner. He might have put a little bit too much wheel in it. Once he got it sideways, heated that tire up. It's pretty much, gotten hot. He's got to settle down and let the tire cool down a little bit. But being this late in the run, most of the drivers will just say, well, I'm not going to run these anymore, so I might as well burn them off. And as the leaders are headed down pit road right now.
Yeah, they are, and I'm going to be interested to see exactly how this round of pit stops shakes up that top 3. We saw Michael Cosi come in leading on the last round of stops and drop all the way back to 3rd before he just got 2nd from Travis Brown, but Spencer Preet, your leader, puts 54 of 125 up on the board and going to drive that yellow and blue number 27 into his pit stall now for service, and going to bring the right sides up onto that machine. As Rod said, we know it's going to be 4 tires and Sunoco fuel all race long. And you talk about a fresh set of skins. They're going to be picking up some time on this run. They were running about 50, 56, 57 second laps when we were qualifying around 50 flat. So, you really talk about and consider how much time you're giving up over the course of a run. You're talking, Rod, maybe 2 or 3 seconds over the course of an 18-lap run that these tires are giving up. So you can make a lot of time on new tires, but you can also lose a lot of time. And how about Travis Brown pulling away quickly? Is Spencer Preet going to lose at least 1 spot on this exchange of stops?
Yeah, and it'd be interesting. I don't know exactly the strategy, but I would think that maybe some of the drivers would start kind of maybe pitting a little bit sooner. I would say maybe a lap or 2 sooner, and trying to see if we can get them new tires to give the advantage to actually bring them up to there. I don't know. It's the strategy can changes as the races go. The rubber gets on the track, the cars get tighter, looser. But you got to do something. You can't run around and be complacent. You got to figure out a way to get up there and catch up to these leaders.
Well, that's exactly right. And unfortunately, Spencer Preet did not do himself any favors on this round of pit stops. And actually, it's going to hand the lead back to Michael Kosey with 55 laps going to go up on the board this time by. So the 88 going to cross the stripe. And actually, check that. Going to be second, Stephen Wetton in the 3. Going to be scored as the race leader by about a second, qualified on the outside pole, and now assumes the number 1 position here with 55 laps of 125 in the books. Kosey, Brown, and Preet had a very scarily slow pit stop, Rod. He was leading this race before he came down pit road. He's now 3.6 seconds back of race leader Wetton and 2.1 seconds back of the guys he was battling with not even 2 miles ago.
Yeah, I will have to check with Michael Snow to see if he had a problem on the pit stop. Stephen Wetton got out there, and he wasn't really up that close to the leader, so he must have done the same strategy that the 31 of Aaron Masters and the 81 of Martin Davio did to get themselves up there and ahead of the leaders. It'll be interesting to see, though, and like I said, that could be a strategy move. Do that to get yourself up there with them guys and then spend the rest of the race pitting with them. I think that's probably what happened. Michael, I understand you've got some information down there on pit road for us.
Yeah, Rod. I actually went down and talked to Spencer Preet's pit crew, and he actually said that he's fighting the car loose, but there's not really many adjustments that they can do for it because we can only adjust the tire pressures of this car. So he said not planning on doing any adjustments because tire pressure doesn't really affect the car here. So as of right now, I mean, I know you're talking about being complacent with the car, but he's complacent and just going to work with what he's got in the car so far.
Well, he is our points leader, and he really doesn't have anything to lose, but he does. I mean, but if he's smart, he's just going to just ride it out, finish the race, finish the best he can, and keep himself in the points.
All right, let's restack the deck now with 57 of 125 complete. And as we mentioned, this cycle of pit stops putting Stephen Wetton out front by a second and a half over the 88 of Michael Kosey. Travis Brown, the 33, third position on track. Spencer Preet, your former leader, falling to fourth, 4.4 seconds back of the race leaders. And rounding out the top 5, Aaron Masters in the 31. Martin Davio in the 6th position in that 81. Alan Anderson, a new name to the top 10, up to 7th in the 19. Brandon Monsivus, the 154, rides 8th. Robert O'Neill in the 64, 9th. And O.J. Dompier rounding out the top 10 right now with Andy Lee, who was in the top 10, about 7th a few laps ago, falling back to that 11th position as we got 15 cars still on the lead lap right now. And you know, Rod, we keep talking about strategy. We have to. There's not a whole lot else to talk about when you consider we're working 59 laps right now, and we've been green the entire distance so far.
Yeah, the pit stops are starting to really span the field out quite a bit. So they're getting kind of split out even more. At first, we had like a couple little groups, and then the second pit stop, we had a few different groups, still some of the guys in the same. Now this latest round of pit stops got everybody just jumbled all over the place and really not together. So I think you'll see that some of the guys that are a little bit further back than Wetton and Kosey and Travis Brown, if they can get together and draft together, they actually may be able to pull themselves up in there. But yeah, it's a strategy race for sure.
What I'm so impressed about, though, here is Wetton, who really wasn't even on the map, at least not on our radar, before this most recent round of pit stops. He was running maybe the back half of the top 10, and now all of a sudden he's jumped up to the lead and is actually pulling away from Michael Kosey just a little bit by little bit every lap. And, you know, you stop and consider, we saw the leaders before this last round of pit stops. They were drafting together in a real tight little freight train, the top 3 or sometimes 4 guys, and now everybody's kind of split up. There's not really a lot of drafting help, and I have to wonder if that's not maybe contributing to Michael Kosey having some problems getting back up there and challenging for the race lead.
Oh, absolutely, and you've got O.J. Dompier and Robert O'Neill tucked right tight. They got Andy Lee behind them. These guys are actually in a good 3-car draft. They should be able to work themselves up the field that way and get themselves maybe up to Alan Anderson. But right now they're like 15 seconds or better behind, and that's going to be a tough one to catch up on. They need to have some really good pit stops, and they really and keep the draft going, and hope that the three guys up front now that are not together stay that way. I wouldn't be surprised, though. I bet you that Wetton did the same thing. He might have taken 4 tires, but he probably, as soon as they got the 4 tires on there, drop the jack, get me out of here. I can make up some serious time there. It'll be interesting to see if he actually is a short pit one.
Yeah, I think that's going to be, it's going to be interesting to see who has to go a longer run when we get closer to the finish and who can go a shorter run when we get closer to the finish. And that may well be key to winning this race. Right now, Michael Kosey's about a 10th quicker a lap than Stephen Wetton is in that 3 car out in front. Problem is, he's got about 1.4 seconds to make up. So by the time he'll have caught Wetton here, it'll be time for another round of pit stops.
Yeah, and I think you'll see as the race comes down to the coast, it's close. You'll see probably Michael Kosey, Spencer Preet, maybe Travis Brown, Stephen Wetton. They'll all play this race almost kind of sort of like a road course. They'll kind of play it backwards. They'll just do their pit stops. And you wouldn't be surprised at all if they go down. Maybe they go out for 5 laps, and then they pit again, and only maybe take 2 tires or whatever they need to do to be able to make that last pit stop and get it over and done with, but make it shorter because they only have to take a little bit of fuel. That's the way Michael Kosey and Spencer Preet and them guys think. I think you'll probably see that if that's the case, if should their fuel window come out around like that, they'll actually probably do their last pit stop with probably around maybe 17 laps to go, even if they just recently been in.
And, you look guys who are all of a sudden going to be comers and goers, and Michael Kosey just cut 0.3 of a second out of Wetton's lead last time by. The 88 on a rampage now. It's down to about a second flat, and I didn't see any specific problems on that 3 of Wetton, so maybe the tire's starting to give up a little bit if he pitted a little bit sooner than Kosey did in order to get that advantage, but he's now starting to give it back up just a little bit as now Kosey closing in again in that 88 car. Brown in the 33 closing as well. It was 2.2 back. Now it's 1.6 back, and these guys are starting to hound for the lead, ducking down below that white line to the apron. Take another 0.2 out of it. It's 0.8 of a second. So somebody, Rod, hit the go button on Michael Kosey and said, all right, if you want the lead, go get it back now.
Being the last race of this qualifying series, I think you'll see Michael wants to have that little check off on his list saying, yep, I won the last race. Everybody always remembers the last guy to win. You got O.J. Dompierre, Robert and Andy Lee back there, Robert O'Neill, sorry, and they are still nice and tight. They are making up some ground. Like I said, they just got a long ways to go, and Michael Kosey catching up to the back of Stephen Wetton isn't going to make it any easier for him.
No, it's not. And now you see Kosey in that 88 closing even further. So we're going to start to see the draft come back into play. It's down to 5 car lengths as they cross the stripe, and we are now past the halfway point, 65 laps up on the board that time by. So there are 60 laps to go in this race, and seeing some guys pit. Brandon Monsivus in that 154 looks like he's just come down pit road for another round of service. He'll head into his pit stall and make something happen, and before too long, again, you'll see the leaders back in. I would imagine, Rod, around lap 72, 73, somewhere in there, if the whole 18, 19 lap cycle is working out.
Oh, absolutely, and I think you'll see them guys run it right to the end, right to the limit as much as they can for now. They're still running out front. They're not worried about strategy, as Kosey has actually got right almost to the rear of Stephen Wetton's car there. I think it's basically they just keep doing what's working right now, and it's got them out front. But it'll change near the end.
Yeah, it will. What was a 10 car length gap, or even closer to a second gap, has now become almost nothing. Right to the back deck lid, and here goes Kosey up the inside, down the back straightaway. Battle for the lead as they head for turn number 3. The 88 surging to the inside of the 3 of Wetton. He wants the lead in corner number 3, and I think he's going to get it by about half a car length and make it virtually clear as they work off turn number 4. Michael Cosi back to the point. We're going to come to the line and put 67 laps on the leaderboard. That blue and white flamed number 88 machine now has Wetton tucked in the draft behind him. The question will be, can they pull away, or will Wetton be able to stay with him? Travis Brown back there in third, wanting to make up some ground. He's within a second rod of these leaders now.
Now, I was wondering if Travis would have been able to catch up to him when they got side by side using the draft that they made, blowing up a bigger window for him. But it didn't seem as though he's really got the car that Michael Cosi has tonight. I think Michael, like you said, they turned up the wick and said, go get him, get up there and get that lead. And Travis just doesn't seem to have the car like he does to be able to get out front. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they go from here.
It really will be. And what I was so impressed with when Cosi made that pass is it was so well orchestrated. They were barely side by side for 100 yards. I mean, Cosi blew by him and they got back into lockstep so quickly. It's almost as if Wetton knew he was fast, knew that Cosi was faster rather, and basically let him through enough that they could get hooked up in that two-car tandem type draft and start to run away from Travis Brown in third. Whether maybe they intended to or not is irrelevant, because that's exactly what they're doing right now. They've put almost a full second between themselves and Brown.
And I think Stephen Wetton's probably also done the math on it. If he can get Michael Cosi out in front of him, he can use him to actually, save on the fuel. And just as I say that, Stephen Wetton pulls down on pit road to do his service. We've got some information. I believe Michael Snow, he's gone and done some checking to see how Split 2's doing. Michael, what do you have for information on Split 2 race?
Rod, thanks. They were actually in the middle of their pit road cycle whenever I dropped down there. At the time, the leader was the 18 of Gene Mintz. He actually stayed out during the pit stops to try and get an extra lap in to get the lead a lap, and ran out of fuel on that one lap. Other than that, they've been having some pit road difficulties. They actually had an accident on pit road while I was down there. A few cars got together. Right now, the leader, I am happy to report, is the 43 car of Kyle Gilbert. He is having a phenomenal night. He has been up front all the night. They actually said they don't know what's up with him, but he is just a rocket ship tonight. And I use that in exact words of the booth from up there. And other than that, they're having a rather smooth, caution-free race. Back to you.
Thank you. Yeah, and Kyle Gilbert is one of the drivers that if he has a really good night down there tonight, he could actually move himself up to Split 1. So it's great to see that he's actually getting it done, and maybe if he wins and gets this thing over and done with, he'll be all right. So. And Michael Cosi still out in front, followed closely by, well, I could say closely, but a little ways back by Travis Brown, Spencer Preet, O.J. Dompierre, Robert O'Neill rounding off the top 5. Them guys are kind of the ways back a little bit. I think that Michael Cosi, though, and Travis Brown have really got this thing kind of in hand. Michael's actually almost a second ahead of Travis Brown. Travis is going to have to try to do something, pull some strategy out, as O.J. Dompierre and Robert O'Neill pull down on pit road.
Yeah, those two head down on pit road, Rod, and it's going to be an interesting question. I think the next lap or so, you're going to see Cosi and Brown. You're going to have to see them down on pit road, because this will be 18 laps when they come across the stripe next time by, and we've seen that be about the absolute max that they can run on a fuel cycle. I'm watching Cosi right now to see if he makes that left turn onto pit road, and he will make that turn onto pit road right now. So again, another 18 lap cycle, and right at that limit, Cosi brings the 88 down pit road. And you keep wondering, I guess, Rod, who's going to be the next guy to lead this race off the pit road cycle? We've had a different leader off the end of the pit cycle every single time tonight, and it seems like the leader coming into the pit cycle is never the leader leaving the pit cycle.
Yeah, and I think, like I said before, some of the drivers, the crew chiefs, are actually trying to do a little bit of different fuel strategy to see if they can figure out a way to get out there and catch the 88 of Michael Cozy, Travis Brown, and Spencer Preet. And there's some of them, I hope that you can see that they get them out there, but they're really actually losing out by doing that, because when they get out there, they don't get out there with a draft partner maybe for a little while, and it's hurting them. The only team that's actually worked out for pretty decent so far would be the Aaron Masters and the 81 of Martin Davio are the only two that have really kind of used that and had a whole lot of success with it. But now you can see they're way back in 8th position, and they're a little bit ways down in the field. So actually, currently, like right now, they're at the tail end of the lead lap, 22 seconds, 23 seconds behind the leader, Michael Cozy.
Yeah, and we're going to wait to see now as everybody starts to unlap themselves how it cycles out and who the leader will be. It looks like Cozy going to get back, work his way back up to speed on the back straightaway, and we're going to see all the way through about Dan Vining in 15th get back on the lead lap. So this cycle continuing, but again, we'll see the names shuffle, though the three constants all night long have been so far the 88, the 33, and the 27. Cozy, Brown, and Preet. And across the stripe they come this time. Michael Cozy retains the lead. For the first time all night long, the leader coming into the pit cycle is the leader exiting the pit cycle, Rod. So lightning quick pit work. And how about this? Cozy is a very lonely man all of a sudden. 7-second lead over Stephen Wetton. Aaron Masters to third. Martin Davio is fourth now. And Travis Brown, Spencer Preet, they've fallen back to fifth and sixth. But that third through sixth battle is in a tight pack, 10 seconds back of Cozy.
I'm wondering if he did his short pit fuel right at this time to get himself away from everybody else to see if it works. Be interesting to see if he can actually go the full 18 laps this time. If he did, got the tank full, that was a phenomenal pit stop. Or either the other guys had some trouble, but man, he is out there 7 seconds out in the lead. That's going to be hard to even run down if you get two people together.
Oh, I think it's going to be mighty hard to run down if you get a bunch of guys together. And I mean, we see Masters cut a couple of tenths off it, but when you consider we're only running 17, 18 laps on a fuel cycle, you may make up, even if you're 2 tenths faster a lap than the leader, you're going to only make up 3 or 4 seconds of that 10-second margin. So it's a huge gap that Cozy has put on the rest of this field. Wetton, Masters, Davio, and Brown, the top 5, followed by Preet, Monsivus, Anderson, Lee, O'Neill back in the 10th position as they run. Biggest mover so far, Martin Davio in the 81 machine, started 19th, final car in the field on a provisional, up to 4th now, so 15 spots better than he was running at the drop of the initial green flag. And with that time by the stripe, Michael Cozy has put us inside of 50 laps to go here in the Irish Hills Michigan International Speedway, the 2-mile oval in Brooklyn, Michigan, and definitely a fun time for the ARC Racing Series Championship night here tonight, Rod. And these guys aiming to be in the top 30 in points because they want to transfer to the Top Split Series for next season and get their shot at a championship.
Oh, absolutely. These guys will be once they get in here and they're locked in, they'll be locked in for the top split for the next season all the way through. So it's very important to try to get yourself into the higher branch of all the splits. The ones that really surprised me, though, even though Martin Davio and Aaron Masters pulled that strategy earlier, they're actually now still running in 3rd to 5th spot. Right now is Travis Brown and Spencer Preet pulled down below them, kind of separated them a little bit. But I think what you'll see happen is they'll let them go and then try to get tuck in right behind them and see if they can't make up some ground on the 88 of Michael Cozy and the 3 of Stephen Wetton.
I want to give a shout out to the race leader. Michael Cozy qualified at a 50.009 second lap, Rod. His last lap by the stripe was a 49.949 second lap. He just turned a race lap just now faster than his qualifying time. I mean, This goes to show you the kind of a driver Michael Kosey is. He's basically out there running qualifying laps, lap after lap after lap after lap, and it's why he's extended that gap over Stephen Wetton now to 7 seconds.
And that's just shows you what a wheelman he is. He's probably gone in and out a couple of times, made a few complaints to the crew chief. You know, the car's a little tight, a little loose, or whatever it was doing for him. The crew chief has gone, tweaked the car just ever so little bit just to make him happy and the way he likes it. The rubber's building in there. It's actually probably coming to him. He went out there and blistered off a lap just to see what he could probably do. And, you know, he's definitely a good old wheelman.
I've watched him wheel just about everything on this service, and it seems like he can run up front and contend for wins in all of them at just about every single racetrack. He's now 47 laps away from a victory here tonight at the Michigan International Speedway. 7.1 seconds over Stephen Wetton in the number 2 spot. Then it's 11 seconds to the battle for 3rd through 6th, and all of these drivers separated by less than a second. Travis Brown, Spencer Preet, Aaron Masters, Martin Daviau, 3rd through 6th. And I want to put eyes on that battle for a minute, Rod, because these 4 guys just have not given up the fight, and especially you look at Travis Brown and Spencer Preet, they're locked together like they've got a trailer hitch between them as they fight for 3rd and 4th.
Oh, absolutely. They know that's the way that they're going to make up time, is to get that bumper right up underneath the car in front of them and just push, push, push. Try to break that, let the front car break the air, let the second car push him through it, and they'll actually make a big ground up. I don't think they got enough to, you know, they're 11 seconds back. That's going to be hard to make up. But there again, they're going to just do what they can, and they're not giving up, like you said.
Okay, so for anybody who's not a physics major, and even for me, because I'm watching this and going to myself, okay, we know Michael Kosey's a wheelman, but he's all by himself out there at the front of the field right now. And even with these guys hooked up 2 by 2 behind him, they can't make up any ground.
The basic principle behind it is, you know, it's just like driving down the road in a car or whatever, and you're doing maybe 65 miles an hour. Put your hand out the window and you flat. You'll feel that it's trying to push the air out of the way. Lay it down, and the air goes better, and it has less resistance. Well, that's what happens to the nose of these cars. When you're the lead car, you're pushing that air out of the way. That really will actually slow the car down. You need more power to push it through there. These cars are crate motors, limited power. The car behind it that doesn't have that problem, because the car in front of it's breaking the air, has a little bit more power per se. And it's not really that he has more. He's using less to get through the air, and he has the ability to be faster. So when he gets up behind the car in front of him, gives him a nice little push. That pushes him, gives him a little bit more speed, and that's how the drafting basically works.
And as unfortunate as it is, they're trying to put all those principles into practice, and they're not making up time on the leader. Right now, they actually lost about 1/100th of a second last time by, as Travis Brown leading Spencer Preet. Again, still 11 seconds behind the race leaders, and it looks like Masters and Daviau, Rod, just hit pit road.
Yeah, they've been doing that. They're on their own little pit strategy. I think they probably short pitted at the beginning of the race and trying to get themselves a little bit different situation than everybody else. And now they've been doing that. And they've been getting out there. What it just seems weird, though, is it really seems to be hurting them. They're not making up the ground that they should be making. I also do get some news past today that even though Michael Kosey put out a lap of 49.794, the fastest lap of the race right now is Alan Anderson at 49.709. So that it's probably got to do with the draft, but he is a little bit faster than Michael Kosey is at this current time as fastest lap goes.
The problem is for Alan Anderson, he is 15.4 seconds behind your race leader. So as good as he is in one lap trim, he's not been able to hold that over a run like Michael Kosey has. And Kosey's just been so consistent over this run, about halfway through another fuel run for your race leader. We'll see the rest of these guys start to drop to pit road over the next couple of laps. And You know, we see Masters go back a lap down, Daviu go back a lap down. Dan Vining staying out for the moment in that 99 car, going to pick up a couple of spots here. Brandon Monsivis has been down pit road. He's back in 14th now, 1 lap down. So all of these guys, everybody, it seems like, is just about on their own pit strategy here. And Rod, I think that's why, unless Cosi can continue to just extend this unbelievable margin, we may not know who the winner of this race is till the checkered flag flies at lap 125.
Absolutely, and if Michael Cosi took a little bit of less fuel that time to get him out there, that means he's going to actually have to pit a little sooner. Be interesting to see how that plays out. Whether if he comes out with fresher tires as fast as he has been, he may actually have an even more of an advantage. There again, he could have a little bit less advantage. It'd be interesting to see when we get down to the closing laps where everybody kind of falls in. There's so many varying strategies going on here.
Move the gap up to virtually 8 seconds over Stephen Wetton, 7.9 last time by, as Brown and Preet back over 11 seconds in arrears to the race leader. Cosi just kind of running his race, and will be 40 laps to go this time by. I think the thing that's most amazing about this run for Cosi, his tires have only dropped off, 3/10 of a second, 4/10 of a second from his fastest lap of this run. I mean, he has been flat flying and just painfully consistent. That's why he's running away from this field, and it's got to have everybody else scratching their heads going, okay, what on earth are we going to do to beat this guy?
Well, absolutely, and Cosi's one of them drivers that likes a car to be a little bit freer than most, and if that's the case, and he's got the car like right where he wants it, as the rubber buildup gets on the track, it's even going to get better and better and better. And that's probably why he's able to go out there and just throw down a lap. During qualifying, you don't have this much rubber down there. Now we've got a lot more rubber out on the track. It's going to get better and better. I'm sure that this isn't the last time we're going to see him down in the 49s all night.
Before we get to this next round of pit stops for the leaders, Rod, I want to talk to you. I've heard a lot of different things from a lot of different people on this sim over the past couple of weeks, and I'm curious how it's been for the ARC Racing Series. But, we talk about rubber being laid down on the track and the whole concept of the dynamic track surfaces now here on iRacing. I mean, how has the new formula with the dynamic surfaces affected these drivers and kind of change the way these guys think about how they're going to run their race? Because it's a whole different ball game than it's ever been before, with talking about the fact you rubber in your line. If you can get it where you like it, you can make up time maybe where before you might not have been able to make up as much time running a little bit different groove.
I think we've got some mixed emotions from a lot of the different drivers. I think this is our 4th race with it. They're still struggling, some of the guys, to try to figure out what they need to do to make the car respond the way they want it to. The rubber buildup has actually kind of changed a lot of the way the guys do it. Most of the time they make a setup, it works. They hit the track for the first time and it works great, and it's the same way pretty much through the race. Now the track is changing for them. It's definitely thrown a few of them for a curve, but the nice thing it is I've seen that a lot of the drivers are liking about it is if they like a little bit of a tighter setup, but they want to be able to get the car a little better, the track gets a little bit more grip near the end of the run. So you'll see, we've seen a lot of the drivers that we don't normally see run, we'll say, top 4, top 5 every week, actually get themselves up there and run up there because of the way it is. It seems to work better for certain drivers. And like I said, other drivers just absolutely are struggling with it. So it's been a big change, really, and I think it didn't take that long. I know Spencer Freet, Michael Cosi, they were some of the drivers that really didn't like it at the beginning, but they figured out what the car needs, and then they're just right back out front and gone.
Stephen Wetton on pit road, too. You got to imagine this is the first one in the cycle we'll see of the leaders anytime now.
Absolutely. O.J. Dompierre and Robert O'Neill, they've been tight together throughout this race. They're in the 4th and 5th spot. I just am surprised that they're not having don't have the speed to catch up and get up there in the front. Just seems though that having Robert O'Neill start in the back and where O.J. Dompierre kind of started further in the back has really, really hurt these guys. I mean, granted, they are up in the 4th and 5th spot. They just can't seem to get any higher than that.
Yeah, they really can't. 89 laps in the books this time for Michael Kosey, and we're down to about 5-6 cars on the lead lap. And based on my math, this time by will be 18 more laps. And one would think that we'll see Michael Kosey, Spencer Preet, Travis Brown, these guys back on the pit lane. So, Rod, if you're Spencer Preet, Travis Brown, you're hoping that Michael Kosey in that 88's got to stay on pit road a little bit longer, but he's been able to run this entire fuel run, no questions asked, which tells me they had a phenomenal pit stop the last time they were down on pit road.
Oh, absolutely. I know you'll probably see Spencer Preet's probably not too worried about it. Michael Kosey is his teammate. Preetz just wants to grab the championship. It's his. He's pretty much got it. He's just got to finish and race the race and be smart and finish in the top 5 to secure it and make sure that Kosey is in the championship. He's out to win. Like I said, check. Last race of this season done. Everybody remembers who won the last one. So that Kosey's out there. What they can do to get up there, I think that part will come into play when we get down to that last pit stop. Depending on where their fuel cycle is, they'll probably try to pull some strategy to just get themselves a little bit less time on pit road.
And you see Michael Kosey done with the tires. They're just waiting on fuel now, so we'll see if that 88 pulls away and is able to maintain the advantage, working lap number 91 here. So closing in now on 30 laps to go here in the finale for the ARC Racing Series at the Michigan International Speedway, and glad you're tuning in for the action as you see leader Michael Kosey pull off pit road. Jacob Seelman, Rod Weston calling the action from up here in the broadcast booth as we move again closer and closer and closer to conclusion. You see Kosey pull away. He can't blend back in yet, but I imagine at this point I've not seen any sign of Spencer or Travis, Rod, so that lead looks like it's at the very least going to be maintained here.
Yeah, they are way back there. They got Spencer Preet and Travis Brown. They're still coming off together. They're actually going to come out, maybe if they can get up to speed, just behind Aaron Masters, Martin Davio, Brandon Cruz, Masaveas, and Alan Anderson. They're going to come out right behind those guys. I believe they'll still be ahead of them on position-wise, but they're actually coming out behind them, so they may be able to get these guys together. I don't know if the cars in front of them have enough speed. I still don't think they've got time, but they could use the cars in front of them and maybe get enough speed up to make up some time.
Yeah, and you look at that gap, it was 11 seconds coming in, leaving over Preet and Brown. It is now 12.5 seconds with 10 seconds over Stephen Wetton. That is a master just doing what he does in Michael Kosey, not wasting any time, doing what he has to do. Nobody's going to run him down with that kind of a gap. They're going to have to start thinking here, and you stop and consider Kosey has played this almost to perfection. With him pitting at lap number 90, his next pit stop will be at lap 108. That puts him with 17 more laps to go to the finish, Rod. That's basically splitting this race as perfectly as you can on these fuel runs.
And I think that's probably what happened in the mid part of it. Is that's exactly what he did. And I do stand corrected. Alan Anderson, Aaron Masters, Martin Davio, and Brandon Cruz Masaveas are actually ahead of Spencer Preet and Travis Brown. Granted, they're on a different pit strategy, so I'm not really sure exactly keeping up where they are as Spencer Preet pulls down the lower side of Brandon Cruz Masaveas and going to pass him or try to get past him. They're on a different strategy, so like you said with Kosey's got it right down to perfection. Preet and Travis Brown are on the pretty much same strategy as he, although they're just a bunch of seconds behind him. They're about 11 seconds behind.
And when they get back, when Kosey gets back to the line, I want to actually give a little bit of a visual or audible impression as to exactly how big this lead is. I mean, I know you can sit here and think about a whole 10-second or 9.6-second advantage, but just to give the viewers an idea of exactly what this lead is. Coming off turn 4, Michael Kosey is coming down to the apron, and he's going to hit the line right now. And you got to wait and wait and wait. Stephen Wetten's just coming down to the apron now, and he's going to hit the start-finish line now. That right there is 9.5 seconds. It's a straightaway plus, Rod, that Kosey has to be able to work with. And you stop and figure the 3 of Stephen Wetten is still working traffic right now. He's working underneath the 64 of Robert O'Neill, who was up in the top 10 before this round of pit stops. All of a sudden, he's a lap down in 15th.
Yeah, I was hoping he'd do better tonight, but it just seems as though that starting in the back tonight is not going to be the good thing. But Stephen Wetten is just, he's got his work cut out for him. I still think that they need a caution to be able to catch him. Kosey's just too fast tonight. It'll be interesting to see, though, if they do get a caution. Oh, we can't do it in one stop from here, you know. So then it would definitely be interesting if we did get a caution tonight. But other than that, Kosey's just walking away with it, as he always seems to do is just about every track we go to.
And that's why he's the leader, and that's why he's led since about lap 50, I want to say 55 or so. He had the lead and hasn't relinquished it since. Stephen Wetten in the 3 rides in the 2nd position. Alan Anderson 3rd, Spencer Preet is 4th, and Aaron Masters completes the top 5 with Travis Brown 6th, Martin Daviau 7th, Brandon Monsivis 8th, OJ Dompier in 9th, and Andy Lee rounding out the top 10. Now we just got 12 cars on the lead lap, Rod, so we're starting to whittle them down little by little. 29 laps to go this time by for Kosey as he crosses the stripe in that 88. The 3 of Stephen Wetten been cutting into that gap a little bit. It's back up, though, to 9.5 seconds, so Preet to 3rd. Travis Brown's working with him as the 27 works around the Alan Anderson machine, the number 19 in 4th. All that going on nearly 12 seconds behind the race leader. But, you know, I have to say, as much as I know we're not surprised that Michael Kosey is leading a race, I'm personally a bit surprised that he's leading this race in the manner that he's leading this race. I mean, I wouldn't have anticipated him to just be able to build this 10-second gap and maintain it like he's maintained it all throughout the night here. I mean, it's been, what, I think 42 or 43 straight laps now that he's led and had virtually this inassailable gap over the rest of the field.
Yeah, they made a pit stop there in the middle of the race. Like I said, maybe a short stop, I'm not sure. But that one pit stop propelled him out about 7 seconds ahead, and he's just holding it off. And even though the guys behind him are drafting and getting, you know, doing whatever they can to try to run him down, he's got that car on rails tonight. And I don't think anybody's going to have anything for him. Hats off to Paul Coleman Jr. and Calvin Pilarski. Calvin Pilarski just recently joined the Split 1. He's still out there running back over the field a little bit, but they're still both on the lead lap as we've only got about 25 laps left to go. So that's they're doing very well. Like we talked about earlier, how this track has a tendency to, you'll see drivers that you normally won't see. We won't say up to the front. The cream always rises to the top, but some of the drivers actually run better at a track like this where they can really kind of stretch out their legs, as we've got a few cars pulling on pit road.
Yeah, a couple cars pulling on pit road, one car pulling behind the wall, looking like maybe mechanical trouble for Robert O'Neill as he parks his car and looks to be done for the night. So that 64 machine going to finish about 17th position here this evening once everybody gets all cycled out. I mean, not so for Michael Kosey. He's out in front of this field by just about 10 seconds as, again, few guys that are not quite on this same strategy on pit road. And we talked about it earlier in this race, Rod, how if you got off strategy and you didn't have the right strategy, it was just going to be killer for your chances. And unfortunately, I think that's exactly what we're seeing now as we close in on the conclusion of this race. We're seeing that Michael Kosey had this race strategized perfectly, and you know, some of these other guys tried something different to see if it would work, and it just didn't quite work.
As Aaron Masters with Martin Daviau and Brandon Cruz, Masaveas come off pit road. I look at it, we're about 25 laps. They can do about 18. That's not a long race after that. I think you'll see these guys come in, maybe 2 tires, top off enough fuel just to make it to the end, and they may make up some time there. They're not going to catch Michael Cozy, obviously, but I think they could catch some of the other guys that are ahead of them, and they're actually running still fairly decent up in the top 10. That might be some good strategy right there. Their last pit stop will be a shorter one.
That's true. I think the hard part with this, though, is you're having to make an extra stop on that strategy, whereas Michael Cozy is not. And that you just save so much time by eliminating that extra stop, that I think you're going to see most of those guys probably finish a lap down to Cozy. They may make up some time on some of the guys that they're racing against, Rod, but you're going to give up so much time to the leader with that extra pit stop, because you got to stop and consider it's about 45 miles an hour all the way down this long pit road, and the leader's at full speed, 150 or so miles an hour while you're doing that. So, it's a lot of give and take, like we've said about a lot of other things tonight. And it may be gain in a position or 2 positions, but it's going to be a big loss in terms of everybody being able to challenge that 88 for the win.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those deals where they tried to do the strategy to get out front, and they did for a little bit, hoping that maybe possibly a caution would fall, and it just didn't happen. So now they've just had to reverse their. You're stuck with what you've got. You did what you could do to try to get out there. I think Aaron Masters actually did get out and led a lap, which is good for him. And now they're just trying to get to the end of the race. If they don't get a caution, they know they can't catch up to him. They're right now actually a lap down, but of course Michael Cozy still has one more pit stop to make for the night. I don't know. They're too far back to catch him, but yeah, it's a strategy that you try. We've had guys like OJ Dompierre just be some of the fastest cars at Martinville, just running really well. Decided to pull a little strategy, pitted early, and it just bit him. He could never get that lap back after a caution fell and trapped him down. It's hard. It's hard, for the crew chiefs down there to try to make the right decision, especially when you're looking at that 88 and saying, what do we got to do? What can we do to make it so that we can catch up to him?
Nobody's catching him right now. He's 11 seconds ahead of Stephen Wetton, and we're closing in on that final pit stop for Cozy. It's about, I figure, 4 laps away or so now, as he's made the gap 11 seconds, only 6 cars remaining on the lead lap as they run. Michael Cozy, again, has dominated this race, has led just about 50 consecutive laps over Stephen Wetton in the 3, the 27 Spencer Preet, the 33 of Travis Brown, the 19 of Alan Anderson rounding out the top 5. He's got the fastest lap of this race to date. Paul Coleman Jr. in the 10 completes our lead lap cars in the 6th position, but you see him right there, Michael Cozy working towards the outside, looking to put him 1 lap down as they come across the start-finish line, and I don't think that's going to be much of a fight. You're going to see Coleman give way on the bottom. Cozy now leaving just 5 race machines on the lead lap, as this time by Rod, just 20 to go.
And everybody else is about 11 seconds to 12 seconds behind him. He is absolutely putting on a clinic tonight, showing them guys what it takes to win. I know that he's somewhere around in the top 3 in points. I know that the points weren't that big of a deal. He's in the he was going to make it into the top split no matter what but he just wants that another win. I don't even know how many races he's won. It's got to be quite the vast amount.
I know it's a lot on this sim, and I may go do some digging here after this race just because now you've got me interested. But there you go, 20 laps to go as Cozy crosses the stripe. And like we said, the rest of his challengers are about a quarter of a lap behind him in Wetton, Preet. Wetton, though, now I believe dropping to pit road in that number 3 machine, and this is going to put him right on. It may put him on the outside edge of being able to make it. You're pitting with maybe 19 and a half laps to go, give or take. And now, I just don't know. You may need a splash of fuel to get to the end of this race. I mean, we talk about just needing an extra gulp, and Stephen Wetton, I mean, another lap, Rod? Can you save a lap or a lap and a half of fuel over this final run if you know you're that close?
I think you can definitely save the fuel, but you're going to lose the speed. The speed comes through basically, being flat-footed. You're going to lose a lot of time. I just got some information handed to me that this year in the 12-10 race series, Michael Cozy has won 3 races. Spencer Preet has won 2, and Taylor Hurst has won 2 also. But I think that you would probably end out having, to backpedal, and when you backpedal, especially where you're on a track where you're running it flat out, you're going to lose speed. If Wetton comes out by himself, that's a strategy that may work, but he's got Travis Brown, about 0.2 of a second behind him. If Travis took more fuel, or is gonna, I don't know. That's tough. That's a real tough call.
Couple of more takers on pit road. Besides Wetton, Alan Anderson in the 19 has also pitted, so that leaves us with just 3, Preet and Brown. The last one's on the lead lap, in addition to Michael Cozy, and Preet and Brown both now are on the pit lane for their final round of service. And Michael Cozy, I imagine, going to be coming down this time by. Yes, he is. He works off turn number 4. And one more time, we expect this to be the final stop for the 88 of Michael Cozy, Rod. And he's driven a flawless race. Absolutely couldn't have predicted it any better. Couldn't have planned the strategy any better than they've run it here tonight. This is exactly what they were hoping to do. And just as that 27 of Spencer Preet comes off pit road, Cozy slots into that number 1 pit stall.
We just got some information that Andy Lee actually had lost the motor tonight. He pulled it in behind the pit road wall. Something let go in the car. That's too bad, but I think he's probably safe. There's not too. I think most of the drivers that could have anything to worry would be Calvin Filarski, and he's not up front, but he's having a decent night. I think he's probably running well enough to where that'll keep him into the top split.
Everybody's going to be watching those points when we get down to the finish of this one. And, before we would see 8 or 9 guys get back on the lead lap as Michael Cozy came down pit road. Now you're seeing Paul Coleman just slide into the number 2 position as he crosses the stripe, some 52 seconds behind Michael Cozy. This is going to be interesting how it all cycles out. Now you start seeing everybody finally unlap themselves here. I mean, they've got a long ways to go, and this is actually going to be interesting with where Coleman crossed the line. I'm not so sure, Rob, that he won't come out as the race leader very briefly.
That would be pretty cool to see Paul Coleman get out there and lead a lap and do it in what we call in anger. But yeah, everybody's starting to get their lap back, but then again, they still got to make their last pit stop. Michael Cozy, I believe, we both believe, has made his last pit stop, and he's going to go to the end with what fuel he has. He's got a big enough lead out there. I think he still hasn't made his pit stop, but I mean, it's coming soon. You'll probably see him run it almost till it's dry. That way, when he does go down pit road, he doesn't have to take a full tank, and that pit stop will be even quicker.
All right, so there's the cycle out right there. Cozy with a 4.4 second lead over Spencer Preet, who didn't have to take as much fuel on his final stop and is now only 4.4 seconds back of your race leader, made up about 7 seconds on that cycle of pit stops. But if Cozy, Rod, does what he's done on every other cycle tonight, we only had 17 laps to the finish when he came down pit road, you'd have to imagine he's done. he's going to either run it till it runs out or crosses the finish line first, one or the other. So, I have to imagine that this has worked to perfection, and barring some sort of catastrophic disaster, we won't see him back on pit road again tonight.
Oh, absolutely not. Can't count how many times I've seen him run out of gas coming out of turn 4 or just after the start-finish line. He likes to cut it that tight. He knows that on the last pit stop, that's the best way to make up some time, and he's got it figured out. He'll know exactly what he needs for fuel just to make it, and he does it all the time, and he's very successful with it.
Yeah, he is, and that's why he is continuing to lead this race. He's led it since lap number 55 tonight. We're now working lap 112. That is almost 60 consecutive laps of this race. So, Cosi still your leader. Preet, Wetton, Brown, Allen, Anderson, the top 5, and pretty good battle for 4th and 5th right now between Travis Brown, Allen Anderson, the 33 and the 19, separated by a car length or 2, and that's the best battle on the racetrack as they run. It's the tightest battle, certainly, as they work a little bit of traffic. You got the 104 of Calvin Filarski back there, who has gone a lap down not too long ago, and now you see that red, white, and yellow number 19 closing on the back deck lid of the 33, the blue and black machine of Travis Brown, and they're going to be going at it. I mean, they've actually already been going at it, Rod, a couple of laps here, and neither one ready to give in. I mean, one spot may not be critical most any other week, but this is championship night. You want to finish as high as you possibly can, and you don't want to take any prisoners.
Oh, absolutely. Travis Brown is one of them drivers. He's a fairly aggressive driver. His aggressiveness has gotten him into a little bit of trouble at ARC Racing in the 10-race qualifying series. But I can guarantee you that even though Travis is in 4th spot, he doesn't want anybody else to have that 4th spot. And he's probably looking ahead and saying, no, I want that guy's spot. And that's a typical racer. No matter what, you want to win or you want to do the best you can, and you don't want to get beat at any cost, no matter whether you're fighting for 3rd, 4th, or even last place with somebody. You always want to beat the guy that you're racing.
Oh, yes, you do. And the gap has stayed static for the last couple laps between Cosi and Spencer Preet. And, it's like I said, Cosi's got the strategy to win this race, but I don't think the battle for 2nd is over quite yet either. How about give a call to Stephen Wetton? He's closed the gap on Spencer Preet for that number 2 position, and that white and blue number 3 car closing, trying to make something happen. It's down to about 8 car lengths, so that's about the gap where you can really start to use the suction of that draft, the front car punching the hole in the air rod to really close in, and you see that gap really start to shrink as they work through turns 3 and 4. What was a 10 car length gap, now down to about 5.
Now, Wetton's giving all he's got, but remember, we're not calculating the fuel for him, but he pitted with about 19 to go. So I think, personally myself, he's trying to get up there so he can save a little bit off from Spencer Preet and then try to get a good run on that last lap, maybe to jump out and pass him and steal that that position away from him. 2nd position, that is, sorry. And I don't know, fuel mileage, I mentioned the crew chief or the spotters up there going, remember, we're close, remember, we're close.
We are close, and that's exactly where we're sitting here trying to crunch the numbers going, I mean, I'm no Larry McReynolds here, but my calculator's smoking right now, and Brandon Monsaves in that 154 car, he couldn't make it to the end here with 10 to go. He's on pit road, Rod, so a few of these guys who were on that short pit strategy now having to make their final round of pit stops.
Oh yeah, and it's gonna get interesting here with Stephen Wetton and Spencer Preet. I think Wetton will get there. We get down. We're under 10 laps left to go. That 27 might get a little bit wide, maybe. I don't know. Like I said, Spencer Preet's going to roll out of here being our points leader, points champion. I think he probably may be willing to let 2nd place go to keep the car running. He's got himself a podium finish. He's got quite a few of those this year. I think he's probably just going to just looking. The spotter's probably telling him, just keep it going forward. We've got this thing won. We're gonna be the champion. So, Wetton, not so much. Like I said, he's like the driver back there that's looking ahead of him and go, even though that's Preet, I want to beat him.
Yeah, and you can't help but wonder, Preet pitted with exactly 18 laps to go. Could he be close on fuel? Maybe is that why he's backing up a little bit, because he's tight on fuel?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't think of that. That's right, too, because they pitted about the same time. Ooh, yeah, this could get quite interesting as they get down near the closing laps of this race to see it may be the game of who doesn't run out of fuel may finish in the second position.
Yeah, the only one that I know can make it on fuel is Michael Kosey. He's proven he can go 18 laps, and he pitted with a lap to the good to begin with. So, he's the only guy that I would bank for 100% certainty can make it to the end on fuel. We got 8 laps, make it 7.5 laps to go right now as they work off of turn number 2 and down that backstretch. Once again, you continue to watch the battle for second. The 27 of Preet, the 3 of Wetton going at it once more, and this time by 7 laps to go. If I'm a crew chief on any of these guys that's not named Michael Kosey, I'm telling my driver, pedal, pedal, pedal. Please don't run us out of fuel with a lap to go, because you can coast around to the finish here at Michigan. If you run out going into turn 1 or in the middle of 1 and 2, it is a long 2 miles back to the stripe.
Yeah, and if it's only 1, well, you might be you're only 1 lap down when that happens. That might be okay. You might still finish fairly decent, being that there's only 5-6 cars on the lead lap. But if you don't make it back to the start-finish line for the checkered, and you end up losing maybe a lap or more, you could find yourself down there in 10th, 11th position real easy. So absolutely, these guys have got to be thinking, save me some, save me some. We haven't had any cautions. We're at a track where you really, if you want to keep your position, you can't really save fuel by lifting because you'll get passed. So this is going to be gotta be nerve-wracking for these 2 drivers that are running in the second and third position of Spencer Preet and Stephen Wetton.
All the while, Michael Kosey running away. It's 4.7 seconds from he back to this battle for second as we're closing in. When they cross the stripe this time, it'll be 5 laps of racing to go. Seems like we just started not all that long ago, and now we are closing in on the finish as we continue to watch this dicey battle for the number 2 position. Battle for 4th is about the same between the 33 of Travis Brown and the 19 of Alan Anderson. That's 8 race leader right now, with Paul Coleman Jr. in 6th in the 10 car, almost a lap in arrears to the race leader, but this time by the stripe, we close down. It is 5 laps from the finish, 1 outstretched hand from the flagman, and the battles are fierce everywhere but up front. Kosey's on cruise control, I think you would say. At this point, long as he just does what he's been doing the last 120 laps of this race, Rod, there's no question.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm just watching the 33 of Travis Brown and the Alan Anderson there, and all of a sudden Anderson's car just stopped. It almost slowed down. I'm wondering if he cut it too tight on fuel. He doesn't seem to have the speed anymore.
No, he doesn't. And with about, 4 laps, 8 miles to go here, you cut it close and no cigar there, you're going to lose a lot of time. This time by, it is 4 laps of racing to go. And, we still don't know about any of these guys who are tight. I mean, you got to figure everybody's saving there. I'm watching these guys run about 3/10 off what they were running during green flag runs earlier on in this race, Rod, but I just don't know if 3/10 a lap over an 18 or 20 lap run is enough.
It might have been if they started back when they first come off pit road, but if they're just realizing that they're that tight on fuel, it could come down to the fact that we could have a lot of position changes on the last lap because of drivers running out of fuel.
And we very well may. Cosi is, we think at least, is in no question. 3 laps to go as they cross the stripe. But the question is these guys in second and third, and Stephen Wetten's starting to slow up a little bit. He really backed it off, a 50.6 last time by. And now a couple of guys dropping through the field. Martin Daviow, Calvin Filarski, those guys back in 10th and 11th, shuffling positions. So there are several guys that I don't think did the math right to be able to make it to the end of this race. I don't think we're done shuffling spots in the top 5 here.
Absolutely. The 154 of Brandon Kuzmasaveas, even though he's a lap down, he just drove right past Alan Anderson like he's just sitting still there. So I think Alan is in fuel conserving mode for sure. I mean, that car has dropped way off from the Stephen Wetton and the other cars that, not Stephen Wetton, I'm sorry, Travis Brown was the car that he was fighting with earlier. He's not even anywhere near him now.
No, he's not. Now, all the while, as the leader works off of turn number 2, we got a lap and a half to go, and everybody behind him is wondering, have we saved enough? Can we make it here? Michael Cosi, though, has been flawless. He has led now 69 consecutive laps. He will make it 70 laps straight. When they cross the flag this time by, he'll see the most important flag, the white flag, meaning there's one more trip around here at the Michigan International Speedway. Final lap for Michael Cosi as he heads off towards turn number 1 for the last time. Spencer Preet in second. Stephen Wetton giving up even more time, and Wetton couldn't make it. I think he is out of fuel in the 3 car he has. He's run it dry, and he's going to have to coast all the way back around. So that math not quite working out for the 3 of Stephen Wetton. He's going to fall at least back to 5th, maybe fall all the way to the tail end of the lead lap as he's got to work around 2 more miles, barely under power. Meanwhile, for Michael Cosi off turn number 4, the ARC Racing Series finale is going to see twin checkers in the air, and Michael Cosi is going to store a dominating victory, led the final 71 laps, and he's going to Gatorade Victory Lane, a winner at Michigan.
I am actually watching right now to see if Paul Coleman Jr. can catch Stephen Wetton. This is going to be interesting. Stephen Wetton is still rolling down the backstretch. He is actually stopped on the backstretch out of fuel. He cannot make it any further. Paul Coleman's going to actually beat him and get himself into the top 5.
Wow, we knew it was going to be tight, and we thought maybe that Wetton wasn't going to have enough, and sure enough, it did not work out for the driver of the 3 machine. However, it did work out for the driver of the 88, Michael Cosi, able to make it work. He's going to celebrate with a victory lap here in the Irish Hills, and it's his 4th ARC Racing Series win of the 2015 season. And, you know, now we look at the points, or now these drivers, Rod, are going to be looking at the points because the top 30 lock themselves into the top split for next season.
Yeah, I think you'll see pretty much everybody that was racing tonight will still remain in the split 1. Most of the drivers that were out here were safe. Depending on how Kyle Gilbert did there in split 2, I think you'll see him was probably, we kind of roughly figured it out, he was the only driver that really had the opportunity to possibly make it into split 1 if he had a good night. We'll have to find out how he did tonight for sure. As Paul Coleman Jr., the guy that went out and actually beat Stephen Wetton, is pushing him back to pit road. What a nice gentleman thing for him to do. It really, my heart goes out for Stephen Wetton. That he had a really good run going there. It's too bad, but that's what happens when you play the strategy just a little bit too close.
That's exactly right, but we'll get to see the celebration here in just a moment as Michael Cosi parks it on the front straightaway, and the celebratory festivities can begin for the driver of the number 88 and the 27. I believe a second place, more than enough, Rod, for Spencer Preet to lock up this championship.
Oh, absolutely, and I just got a little note passed to me Michael Cozy ran out of gas on the backstretch. I told you that he would probably cut it. He probably didn't take a full tank. He probably just took just what he needed to finish the race to make that last pit stop as short as he could, and he ran out. He made it to victory lane, but he actually just ran out on the backstretch.
Well, I mean, he had just enough.
That's Cozy. Like I said, he'll play the strategy as far as he can. He's a master at it. His crew chief is really good at making the calls right so that he can get out there and win a lot of these races, or at least finish in the podiums most of the time. Hats off to the crew and Michael Cozy for coming out there dominating, absolute dominating the race, not only taking the pole, running up near the front, and then, like I said, I don't know what happened, but they made a pit stop that just propelled them away from everybody else, and they never looked back.
No, they didn't. And how about the celebration now for the podium finishers? Cozy, your winner. Preet, second. Your champion, Travis Brown, the 33, coming up third in all of this. And by my math, Cozy led the final 71 laps en route to victory lane tonight, and just basically dominated it. Started from the pole and led the most laps, won the race. Can't ask for a better night than that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can't wait for ARC Racing to get the ball really rolling. I mean, we're still in the infancy stage of this, but as we go along, we'll have late models and super late models here pretty soon. I can't wait to be calling when we get up to the super late models to watch Michael Cozy in one of those machines. I did catch that broadcast of the Iowa race that you were talking about, and it was just phenomenal to watch him in that car. He did some stuff out there that I didn't think you could do with these cars, but I'm looking forward to when we get to the actual super late models to see how he does there.
I wouldn't be surprised to see him up front just like he has been here. It's been fun, and I think now we'll get a chance to catch up with our race winner, Michael Cozy, who led the final 71 laps by our count en route to victory lane. Basically made it look like a Thursday night drive. How much fun was that?
Man, I'm hot, man. Sweaty. I don't know. It was it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun to win. Yeah, I mean, it was okay. It's not the excitement of linear or a short track like that. I feel like that's more fun to race. But
started recording.
But hey, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what to tell you, man. That was an interesting race.
I have a question. About halfway through the race there, I would say it was pretty close to the halfway spot. You were running pretty good with Spencer Preet and Travis Brown. You guys are really running tight. And then one pit stop, boom. You're way out ahead of them. You had a great pit stop. Did you short pit that with a little bit of fuel strategy to try to get out ahead of them? Did you take 4 tires of fuel and just had a great stop?
Oh man, yeah, I'm about as confused as you are, to be honest with you. To be honest with you, the crew sucked first like half of the race, and like you said, for whatever reason they started turning it around. I was getting interviewed on pit road or something like that, and we got out we got out pretty good. And I came back, and Spencer had a slow stop, and I was decent ahead of Travis. I ended up catching a car, and I don't know, from like that point on. Oh, my bad. I think my headset cut out. But yeah, fantastic job by the pit crew.
I was impressed with it. I mean, Michael, I'm curious, did you know how big of a gap you really had there until that very last run? I mean, you were almost a quarter lap ahead of everybody until that very last stint when Spencer and Travis were able to catch up to you. I know it was only 4 seconds at the flag, but it was more than that for so long in this race.
Yeah, well, you know, I know 11 seconds is a lot. You just got a lot of stuff clicking in your head. I was just trying to keep it consistent, try to get in people's draft, just try to get it as far as possible away from them guys behind me. And like I said, pit stops were good, and towards the end, you know, I was lucky enough to be in that position by the pit crew, and when it comes down to that, I thought it'd be a crapshoot for the past couple of laps. I thought we'd have at least one caution, but shout out to all the drivers for keeping it clean. But yeah, we had a short pit. I took it just enough fuel to make it. I only got about half a lap left in my tank. I think Preet took shorter fuel than I did, so towards the end, it's just who can, take the least amount of fuel, or tires for that matter. Tires are really important, but yeah, decent amount of fuel, and luckily we did lose a lot of time with what it was today. But I got to thank Plan B Sales and Now Designs for this beautiful car they painted up. Unfortunately, we're parting ways with Plan B Sales after this season, so we're gonna bring a new car out for ARC when it gets back going again next season. I don't know who's gonna be on the car. I'm gonna go ahead and give myself a little plug. Anybody looking to sponsor a race winning car? I'm now open for sponsorships, so there you are. Now, appreciate you guys for broadcasting. All the admins for doing a pretty good job all the season. Everybody, Aaron Keefe, gotta thank Aaron Keefe. He's probably the biggest thanks I gotta give, because it's amazing what he does, and all the time and work he puts into making this league great. Keefe, if you're listening, I love you, buddy.
All right, Michael, thank you very much. I also caught up with Spencer Preet, also the season champion for the ARC Racing Series. Spencer, anything that you'd like to thank tonight?
Well, I gotta thank my teammate Michael Cozy for having a great year. This season was pretty good. I mean, it was a qualifying series, but I think we've learned a lot through this, and when I've had a rough time getting it together and closing the deal. I mean, even this was a qualifying series, but I've always had a rough time being able to make it through the whole season in whatever league I'm in and not screw up at some point. And I've made it through this whole season without any miscues. I had one little incident at Lanier, and we ended up still getting a top 10 and finishing on the lead lap. And I think the stats this season reflect that. I've been able to finish top 10, I think, every week. I've completed every single lap this season. So I'm kind of proud of that. Got to thank Buck Cozy for that, being a great teammate. Of course, a lot of other people to thank. You guys for putting on the broadcast. Of course, Aaron Keith, Mark Arthur for...
Were you trying to see if maybe there was something left in the tank that you could try and fight him with there in that final run?
Well, that one run way before, because me, Cozy, and Travis had been running together most of the race, pretty much all the race up until I don't know where it was when the spread out happened, but we all kind of broke apart from each other. He got way ahead. He had a really amazing pit stop. They got it fueled up really quick, and that just kind of set him away from everybody else. And the way our strategy was, we wouldn't have been able to do it because we wouldn't have been able to short pit at any point. There's a lot of people that were short pitting and not taking as much fuel, and that's how they were getting ahead of us coming out of the pits. And we couldn't do that because we knew it was going to be close, and we had to stretch it as far as we could every run. And when we got to that last run in that last pit stop, I knew that there was a little bit of leeway, and that if I stretched as far as I could, I'd be for sure good on fuel, and I'd be able to make it to the line no problem. And I knew if we didn't do that, then it would be really, really close. And since Cozy was 12 seconds ahead or whatever it was, I had to go with the close to try to make up that time, and only got me about 8 seconds, and ended up losing my drafted partner Travis in the process, and still got second, barely made it to the line, started running out about 100 yards after I crossed the finish line, but it was close. I think Cozy probably had a little more room, a little more fuel to work with, but yeah, it was really close.
And mine's not a question. Mine's just a statement. Congratulations on the ARC Racing Qualifying Series Championship. You've been pretty much led them through the whole season, so good job.
Thank you, Rod.
User in your channel stopped recording.
All right, so
Hey, wake up.
I'm also caught up with Travis Brown here. Thank you very much, Spencer Preet. Congratulations on the win. Travis, man, what a break for you. What was your reaction when you started running out of fuel coming down on the backstretch there?
When Steven ran out of fuel?
I apologize about that. Congratulations on your third place victory. Anybody you'd like to thank or anything?
Just thank Spencer for working with me all night. Him and Cozy, they worked with me early on, and then we got separated on pit road one time, and that let Cozy get out there, and Me and Spencer stuck together for the rest of the race there and pitted together and all that. And last pit stop, I think I screwed up getting into my pit stall. Always sucked at that here at Michigan because we get so much faster down pit road here. And I stopped short this time because I was trying not to slide through like I'd done the previous stop, and I think it hurt me a little bit, cost me a little bit of time. But I knew Steven wasn't going to be able to make it, and I didn't think I was going to be able to get around Spencer, so I didn't really lose anything besides time. The only thing I was worried about if Cozy was to run out of fuel, then I wasn't going to have a chance to get into him. But I think Spencer would have gotten it if that would have happened. Spencer was faster than me. So, yeah, all in all, it was a good run. You know, we've had an up and down season. Feels really good to end it on this note.
All right. Take me through your race. Any sort of troubles that you were having throughout the race? Any sort of complaints or anything with the car itself?
That first run, I was really tight towards the end of it, so I went up on the right side air pressures just a little bit, and that started actually getting me a little looser. And I don't know if y'all caught any of it on the broadcast, but there were a couple of times where it got pretty hairy in 3 and 4, and I know one time Cozy got in the back of me coming out of 2, and I thought it was going to be all over there, but just a couple times got loose. But before it was, I like being loose a lot better than I like being tight, and but I think everybody was battling either loose or tight. Nobody could find that happy medium towards the end of the run. Towards the end of the race, the cars started handling better for me because the groove widened out, and I was using all of the exit on the corners. And when that finally happened, I was able to use all of it and not lose any time. So really, I can't say I had too many complaints because I expected there to be a pretty big fall off compared to the last build here. So really no major complaints because I kind of expected it.
All right. Thank you very much, Travis Brown. Sorry about that there, Rod. I also caught up with Stephen Witten here. Stephen, what a break for you there on the backstretch, man. What was your reaction running out of fuel there?
Oh yeah, I was hoping when I
User in
got
your
caught up
channel started recording.
with Spencer that I would have been able to save some fuel, but unfortunately it didn't happen.
All right. Any questions from you guys up in the booth there?
I've got one actually for Steven real quick. You know, you ran up front, led some laps in this race. I mean, at what point were you guys starting to get nervous on strategy, thinking it might not quite pan out? I mean, I know you were trying to stick with Cozy as far as pit stops for quite a while, and it just seemed like every time he could get you by one more lap, and that one more lap turned out to be the difference.
Yeah, I had our first pit stop in the beginning of the race. Pretty much just set the tone of the race for me. I had to catch back up to him some way somehow, so I had a short pit, and I think that's what cost me at the end.
Steven, this is Rod Weston up in the booth. You had a great car tonight. Did you pull the strategy of like a short pit somewhere in the middle that jumped you out? Because I noticed all of a sudden, you know, you were running about in the top 5, but away from the group of the 3 that were out in front. And next thing you know, all of a sudden, bang, you were right up there. Was it a short pit on fuel that got you out there?
Yeah, like I was saying earlier, every time that I pitted, Cozy, Spencer, and Travis somehow, I don't know, their pit crews were amazing compared to mine, and they were able to jump out there pretty high. So, like the third pit stop, I actually short pitted a couple laps just to get myself back up there and try to start running with them, and it worked out until the end when I had to pit just slightly a little earlier than I wanted to, and it cost me that last lap.
Kind of figured that's the strategy you pulled, and it's kind of we had a chuckle as you pulled down pit road for your last pit stop, and we were looking at our calculators and trying to figure out this ain't gonna work. There's just no way, and we were right. You were just about half a lap short.
Yeah, it was unfortunate. Like I was saying, I was hoping that when I caught up to Spencer, I was going to try to use his draft, try to save as much fuel as I could, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to save enough to be able to get back around for one more lap. But luckily, there was enough cars that wasn't on the lead lap that I didn't lose too bad on the guts call.
All right. Well,
User
thanks for
in your
talking with
channel
us.
stopped recording.
You had a good race.
Thank you, guys. You have a good one.
And I think that's going to wrap up our broadcast for tonight. This has been Arc Racing with Jacob Sailman and Michael Snow. Jacob, do you got any closing things that you want to say before we shut her off tonight?
I say really quickly, I do want to give a shout out to a couple of guys that we didn't get to talk to. Paul Coleman Jr., Alan Anderson getting top 5 finishes in 4th and 5th there. You heard from Stephen Wetton, who ended up 6th. OJ Dompier, Aaron Masters, Martin Davio, Brandon Monsivis rounding out the top 10 in this race tonight, Rod. And I know I'm not a regular part here of the ARC Racing series here, but to any race fans out there who are keeping tabs on the broadcast tonight, I'll finish my portion of the broadcast as I do with every broadcast here on the service or in my real life endeavors. Race fans, keep it off the wall until we meet again. And as far as the iRacing world goes, we'll see you next time on the web. Rod?
Thanks you very much. It's been a pleasure actually to listen to you tonight. I learned quite a bit from you. As you might notice, I'm a little new at this, but it was really refreshing to hang out with you tonight, to learn how you do this. You definitely have got a good talent for it. I just want to give a shout out to Aaron Keith, out there, and hopefully he's watching the broadcast. Say we, and miss him because he's usually our lead one. So just thanks again. I think that's about says it all. Thanks to Michael Snow, yourself, and Mark Arthur, and really all the drivers here. It's been a great 10. We're out. Have a good night, guys.